Okay, so we're here with Ozmourn running Stonefly any percent. So if you want to take over, let me know when you're
All right.
ready.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. My name is Ozmourn, and today we're going to be running Stonefly 80%. This is a wonderful indie game made by, and it's a really cool game with like a 3D platforming and a really 3D platforming and really nice aesthetic. It's around $20 on Steam if you want to get it, and I highly recommend checking it out. So just to start off, time will begin when we enter a new file, and so if you'd like to start the timer, it can start in 3, 2, 1, go. And so to start off right here, we're going to be playing as this girl named Annika. And Annika is living in this little tree house kind of thing with her father, who's like an engineer. He builds like this mech stuff. And so the beginning of the game is just introducing us to these main characters, and in terms of movement, we're just stuck to like this walking phase. But soon, in around a few seconds, we're gonna get some really nice introductions to the main mechanics and main movement of this game, which is through something called mechs. Right there is a giant one that's being built in the center of the screen, but of course that's just there for plot purposes. Right here, we're just going to go into our father's mech, called Krissa. And this is kind of the tutorial sequence of the game, making sure that you know how to control the mech, how to use the mech, and just show you overall the basic mechanics of movement throughout this game, because in vehicles like this is how we're going to be moving out throughout the majority of the game. And right here we are given going to be collecting some minerals right here. And the main minerals that you want to collect is through like these green ones right here in this level. They're called Limedots. And so we're going to be collecting as many of them as we can throughout this level. You want around 3,400. Like that. And so right here, we're going to be stuck in an encounter. And the encounters in this game are, some of them are forced, but most of them we have found skips for, thankfully. Usually in casual playthrough, you would end up like encountering a bunch of enemies in a specific location, and then being forced to fight them. And you have like this barrier around this arena that will not go away until you fight them. And so we're just going to try and get rid of all these enemies here. The enemy layouts and the enemy's behavior are kind of RNG, and so you want to make sure that you find a way to like really react to what they're doing, and that's kind of like a skill set in its own. But after fighting those small bugs, we're going to fight these bigger bugs, the popcorn bugs as they are called. And when it comes to encounters, you only actually have to fight the hostile enemies. What defines as a hostile enemy changes depending on the encounter itself. And so for this one, we just had to kill all the enemies there. Even though the smaller ones we found at first don't actually hurt you. And so that's perfectly fine there. And right here, we're going to be grabbing some more Limedots. And we're going to be going to another encounter that we can technically, again, skip, but we want to be able to grab the Limedot in this section. And thankfully, the enemies were really well behaved there, gave us really good RNG, and all landed in the same spot. And so we were able to just kill them all in one go. We're going to make a few more pit stops here in order to collect a few more pieces of the Limedot. There we go. And you want to make sure and thankfully we got here like in the middle of the wind cycle, and so we don't have to wait for the wind to go away. We're collecting these pieces of Limedot. And so now we are going to go into the final encounter of Krissa of this tutorial section. And thankfully we got decent RNG. The best kind of RNG is having all 6 of like the hostile enemies in this section appear at once in the same section of the leaf. Okay, and then the big guy spawned in right here next to us, and so that's pretty good RNG as well. And so that is pretty much like a decent Krissa so far. in terms of RNG. A little bit of execution mishaps, but that's perfectly fine. And then we're just gonna walk back and forth and try to get these minerals right here. And we exit Crissa with a good amount of minerals, and so that's a pretty good, all things considered. And so right here we're going to go out, and we realize that our father's mech was stolen because we forgot to like close the door. And so we're gonna go into this cutscene and skip through here. And now we are going to leave home. This is the next chapter in which we are going to be controlling this grasshopper Kevin. His name isn't really Kevin, but I've given him the name Kevin in my heart because he just feels like a Kevin to me. And so we're gonna be walking across here. Hippity hoppity. This grasshopper has velocity, and you can see that it's kind of harder to control. Like I'm holding straight up, but Kevin has some like other things in mind that he wants to do when he starts hopping, and so it's really difficult to get used to at first, but you know, with a bit of practice it isn't too bad. And so the jumps are a little bit finicky to control, but we're going to be coming over here and we're going to be going into another encounter, and that's the last we see of Kevin. He's not dead, he just left. And so we are introduced to the boom bugs. These boom bugs will attack you, like shoot like purple bomb things at you, and as long as you can avoid them pretty cleanly, they should be pretty okay. And in addition to the new enemies that we get introduced to, we get more popcorn bugs, and arguably they can sometimes be a little bit more annoying than the big guys, only because of how small they are and how much you might not even notice them. You can open up these big, you can only like take damage to these big guys if you if their wings are open, and you can use the sweep or the blow ability in order to open up their wings. The same like ability that I'm using to push all the enemies off the platforms and such. And right here is our first cutscene in which we are introduced to these guys. We're gonna buy a keyhole clamp from Clara, and Clara, Draven, and Ravenwood are like our posse for the majority of the run, and so that's pretty much that for the intro sequence. And so they're gonna give us this mech here, and that's gonna be like the way that we transport throughout the entire run. So we're just gonna wait for this cutscene to end so we can go through here. There we go. And then after having bought the keyhole clamp from Clara, we're gonna use the jump design, and then we're also gonna use the brake design. We got these minerals from the previous encounter that we just did after like getting rid of Kevin, and so it doesn't matter if you collect minerals on there, because any of the like literally any of the things that you do is going to be like, no matter what you do, you're always going to leave that encounter with a specific amount of minerals, and so it doesn't matter. And now we're going to be going into Nightlight Briar, and we're going to be going into the next part of the run. We're going to be going through here and through this first section, Nightlight Briar, in which we are able to find 2 new minerals, which is Lauronite and Dalium. The Dalium is this like black mineral, and the Lauronite is this like bluish tealish color. And so you want at least around 2,000 Lauronite after leaving this section, and around 600 Dalium. And again, resource management and routing for the resources as well is something that's constantly wanting to be optimized in this game. You want to make sure that you use your repair function whenever you get attacked by enemies. And these little green crystals can have items which you can sell for minerals later, or you can have like items that you get that you use minerals to buy. And so if you like get like an item like that, it's pretty good, because that means you have to save up on less like minerals themselves, and you can just skip straight to the items you need. And so we're gonna skip over here, and I did say 600, I meant to say 150 Dalium. We need 600 later, like after a specific section, but 150 after this particular section will be fine. We're gonna go into this force encounter at the Shoemaker's Shop, because we found our father's mech being stolen, and we found a specific set of footprints outside of where his mech was stolen. And so we're here to ask the shoemaker where we could have found those shoes and who they made it for. And we get introduced to the long-nosed, long-snout enemies, which will shoot projectiles at you from far distances. But thankfully, they're pretty easy to deal with here. In terms of execution and RNG, this isn't the best fight that I've had, but it's something not to lose. And after defeating that, we have 151 Dalium and around 2,000 Lauronite. It's pretty good. We're going to go over here while this cutscene is happening. We're going to discover Nightlight Village, and we're going to use that as a fast travel spawn later. And meanwhile this cutscene is happening, you do have like free movement, and so if you can try to like go out and find other minerals while this cutscene is playing out, so that you can get more minerals now, and you don't necessarily have to save up as much later. But unfortunately, due to the me falling down, doesn't seem like I'll get to where we need to go. So now we're going to go to Gensen Trail. Gensen Trail is a pretty good level. You want to end with around 8,000 Lauronite and around 600 Dalium. You want to get a lot of minerals in this particular section. Technically, you can skip this encounter entirely, but we want to get these pieces of Lauronite here, and you can actually, before the encounter ends, you can grab this checkpoint and then reset, and the game will put you outside of the checkpoint. And we're going to do that again later. And we're going to grab this Dalium right here, and we're going to collect for later. And a bit more Dalium over here. Thankfully, the game is giving us pretty much exactly what we need, but we want a healthy balance of both Dalium and Lauronite as well. But Dalium is probably the item in this game that is harder to get than Lauronite, only because of how slowly they mine and how small chunks they come in. And so whenever you see Dalium, you want to really take advantage of that. Meanwhile, with the Lauronite, as you can see, it mines really fast, and you get large quantities of it at a time. We're going to be climbing up here, activating this encounter, and then doing the same thing we did the first encounter, in which we're going to grab this checkpoint and then restart the file, and it'll spawn us outside of the encounter, and so we can just skip it entirely. And next we're going to just be gliding through and trying to find going to like the final encounter. And if you see me looking down at like my phone, it's because I have notes just to make sure I have enough of each item at the end of each trail. So we want around 8,000 Lauronite. And meanwhile you're mining these, you can bait these enemies, the Speedy Boys as I like to call them. I forgot their official name, or the Engine Bugs, I think is actually their official name, in which you can lead them. You want them to attack you, and if you're lucky, you can like just shoot them. They can like fall off the edge before they even attacking you. This is one last one, and then boom. So in terms of RNG, of enemy RNG, that's actually really good. I'm going to collect all this Lauronite before moving away and activating the cutscene, because usually if you're away from your minerals for too long, these little guys, these little like buggy boys, they're actually going to eat the minerals that you have before you can come back. And so we're going to collect all those. We have enough Lauronite because we want around 8,000 at the end of this section, and we actually want around 500 Dalium. I said 600, but I just checked my notes, and it is in fact 500. And so not as much as one would might think. We're going to come up here, turn around after activating this cutscene, and thankfully we do have free movement during this cutscene. This is the shoemaker, Mr. Cobblestone, who we didn't find in his shop, and so we found his assistant Henry, and Henry led us here. And so that's exactly, like, if for plot purposes, that's exactly why we're in this section. While this cutscene is happening, I'm going to go back to this tree stump that we had the final encounter in, and I'm going to be breaking these rocks in order to grab some more Dalium here. And as I mentioned before, the enemies will eat the rocks eat the minerals if you're away from them, which is the reason why I didn't like collect them at first. You know, because now the enemies are gone, so you don't have to worry about them. And if you're lucky, you might be able to go grab some more minerals before this cutscene ends, but it doesn't really matter. It would just be for like extra help. But you've gotten everything you need now. And so, oh, a little bit more Dalium, look at And so in this section, we're gonna go to Clara, and then we're gonna buy a pressure mold. We're gonna buy 3 neutron epoxies, and we're gonna buy a hardened crystal, and then we're gonna sell all of these items that we've collected in order to get more minerals. And then we're gonna go to our workstation, and we're gonna buy the dash, and then we're gonna buy mining speed level 1. Hull durability, you don't necessarily need right now, only because like as long as you avoid enemies and you're good at combat, you shouldn't necessarily need to avoid too many things. You shouldn't necessarily need too much durability in your mech. This tree stump right here usually has like a lot of laurinite or minerals that you have, and so but usually we use it as like backup or like extra at the same time. And so you really only want to come over here if like you are a bit short, or if you want some extra laurinite just for safe measure. But usually if like the game or the if the game is being really bad to you and the enemies are attacking you a lot and it's just not worth it, you can like pretty easily just skip by it. But we tend to incorporate it into the route, despite it being kind of optional, because just for extra safe measure. And then after here, we're going to be climbing up this branch, going out to this tree stump, and going north to this snowy area, because that's where the shoemaker led us, because you know, the boots that he made for the person that stole our mech was like winter boots, and so we're going to go to a snowy area. However, in going up to this area, we realized that our mech is not like handled for cold weather, and so we need to find a specific mineral in order to upgrade it. And in order to do that, we have to go to the Briar Alpha. And so the Alpha leaves tracks. These are the tracks we just collected, and each time that you reload the map, you will see tracks in this location. You have a chance of seeing tracks in this location. Usually in order to find tracks, you have to do this like mini game in which you like follow a specific thing, or follow a specific like firefly, in order that'll lead you to the track once you find it. But if you know where it is, you can just go straight towards it and collect it like that. And thankfully the game gave us good RNG and gave us some pretty good, gave us the track in both instances. And so right here at this Briar Alpha, you want to end with around 600 Dalium. You want to end with around like 13,000 laurinite, a bit more if you can. And then we want to end with around 2,000 Dynatite, which is the new mineral that we collected in this particular section. And so here's the Dynatite. As you can see, the Dynatite mines faster and comes in bigger groups than that of the Dalium. It's similar to the laurinite in that respect, but overall, it's not that difficult to mine and should be pretty fine. We're going to use our repair ability just for safe measure. And we're going to come up here and try to get the rest of these guys. All right. We should be pretty good on Dalium so far, and so we're just going to try and focus on getting the Dynatite and the Laurinite. The Laurinite is probably the thing you can back up the easiest, although of course in an optimal run we don't want to backtrack or back up anything. We want to get as many minerals as we can the first time around. Okay, yeah, as you can see, I was unable to walk there for a minute until I hit repair. The way that damage works in this game is that you know, the more damage you take, it actually affects different systems of your mech. And so, as you can see, the leg systems were damaged there, and so I wasn't able to like walk. And if the wing systems are damaged, I won't be able to fly. Air systems are damaged, I won't be able to like use any air attacks or anything like that. Well, that's perfectly fine. And so right here, you want to collect like a few more pieces of the laurinite. And then after that should be pretty much it for this section. We might be a little bit short, but on the laurinite, but that's perfectly fine because it's not like that drastic. And then we're going to go to our station and we're going to buy the snow shell design in order to withstand the cold. We're also going to get pull and arrow, and the pull ability and the snow shell design ability are of course required for required to like move on. But the arrow design that we also bought here is it's imperative that you buy it here, and it's incredibly important to the speedrun. And the reason that is because it allows us to essentially get infinite boosts of speed in the air like this. So as you can see, whenever I dash and I hold right bumper after dashing. You can see I have a little bit more speed in the air, but also you can spam B at specific intervals in order to get more boost of speed in the air like that. So every time you like dip down, the game is going to give you a bit more of a speed boost. And if you're good at the game, like you should be able to time each dip down and get infinite and get like essentially infinite speed boost like that. And so I'm gonna try and come up here. And during this mountain section, I'm able to just climb up, and we meet this guy who is all here by himself without a mech, and he is on a journey to find himself, and for some reason the main character Annika just doesn't understand what it means to find herself, which is like the most confusing thing ever. She's never understood that concept, but you know, plot has to plot. And so right here he is meant to like give us directions as to where to go, but of course we already know where to go. And here's a really good example of using the arrow ability to our advantage right there. Maybe cutting some shortcuts and just dashing across midair. Like so, like right here. And so you want to have a good amount of height when you do it, because each time that you like press B and dip down, you lose height. You get a bit more speed, but you lose height. So we're gonna climb up here, and we're almost at the end here, in which we can get to the end here, and that's the end level trigger. And now we're moving on to the thief. And so for the thief, you want to grab a good amount of, we have pretty much the base lore knight that we want, but it doesn't really matter because lore knight you can't collect in this section. We usually in the thief, it's like get as many as you can. We do have like specific notes that tell you like what you should have at the end of this section. But oftentimes the RNG in this particular section can be pretty harsh to you, and so if you aren't able to get a specific amount of minerals during this time, it's not like the end of the world. During this section, it's not the end of the world. And then you can grab some more lore knights. If we can find lore knights, we want around 2,000 of it, or no, about 4,000 of it, I should say. There we go. That's pretty good. And if you can get more Dynatite, you want around 2,500. And we can grab some more alpha tracks that we're going to be going to later. Each section kind of the game is split up into 3 parts, and each part has like an alpha track in it. And so if we can, I don't need more wool. I would like more Dalium. You want around 900 Dalium at the end, not this section, but the next section. And so you want to grab Dalium here as well if possible. We're going to grab this alpha track here too, and thankfully we have all the alpha tracks that we need, so we don't have to come back to it later. And the game doesn't really feel like giving us more Dalium right now, but that's perfectly fine, because we have more than enough opportunities to get Dalium in the next level. We're going to grab here and then move on to Bull's Hollow. Bull's Hollow is the next level, and we're actually going to skip every encounter that we can in this section. The only encounter that we can't skip is the final encounter, which is a forced encounter. And so, up, come on. And so, as you can see here, I'm actually physically going around the hitbox of the encounter, of the trigger area. And so, you can probably see me doing some weird movement in certain places in order to prevent the trigger zone from me hitting the trigger zone. We're going to grab this checkpoint, and then another really good example of me skipping an encounter by going over the trigger zone is this particular section, in which we are going to physically fly over the trigger zone, like such. And so we're going to climb up here and use this leaf, and we're going to have a small boost of speed upwards. And then we're going to use this guy right here to gain some height, go around this section. Okay, the game is not feeling generous today, but that's perfectly fine. We can just try that again. You have to have a really good amount of height so that you can get right there. Perfect. And we can physically go around the third encounter there by going around the trigger zone as well. And then unfortunately, there is theoretically a way to go around the trigger zone of this final encounter, but the loading area to the next level will not appear until you actually finish this encounter. And so we're gonna collect, we're gonna defeat these guys, which are the bull beetles. And these bull beetles do a lot of damage if they attack you, but thankfully they're not like that difficult to deal with. As long as you are like above them, like directly above them, they shouldn't be too hard to deal with. And thankfully I was able to collect all of them at the same time. So we're actually going to take a bit of a detour here, and we're going to collect some more Dalium. We want around 900 Dalium, just for like good measure. And go around here and hit the loading zone. And so in this next section, we're going to we meet back up with Clara, but we're not going to talk to Clara yet. We're actually going to go over to the trading outpost, and we're going to sell some items. We're going to trade here. We're going to sell these items, and we're going to buy a solar coil. And we're going to buy a solar coil, and then we're going to buy 4 pebble rivets. We're going to buy 4 rain wire. We don't have enough. We don't have enough. Game, please. Okay, we don't have enough dynatite for all 4 rain wire, but that's perfectly fine because we don't fully need it right now. We're gonna get the bubble design here. This is like the most important thing, and then we're going to be getting the mining speed level 2, and then now we're gonna get hull durability level 1 because the reason we're doing that is because we're gonna go straight into the another alpha right here, and we're gonna have some new minerals. We want here on this alpha we can get Faunicle, which is this blue one. This is a new one that we have. We can get Dynatite, and we get Limodot. And so the Faunicle is probably the most important one. You don't need that much of it, but if you don't get it in this section, like you will essentially run dead because you have to. The only other area that we can get this is right here. And so you have to go and collect the alpha tracks again and get some more Faunicle. And no one wants to do that. But at the end of the section, we want around 8,000, almost 9,000 Lauranites. We want around 2,400 Dynatites, but we want around 1,000, a little bit, almost 15,000 Lauranites or Faunicle. And the bubble ability that we got is actually pretty useful in this case because it allows us to make a little bubble or like a force field around us. Oh my god! Okay. As you can see here, we have to wait for the cooldown for the bubble. That's fine. Cooldown here, and while you're in this bubble, you can the enemies will just not be able to attack you, and so it's a pretty useful ability to have if you're, especially starting out, if you're not that like confident in your ability to deal with enemies in this light. So we're a bit low on Dynatite here. You're trying to focus on that mostly. Wow, here's a good section. Oh, yeah, usually when the enemies attack you, they put you back in weird spawning. But we're gonna grab some more Dynatite here. I had a cabins there. I showed you while trying to collect certain minerals. You can just collect like all the minerals in a particular group. And right here, I'm gonna be collecting as much Faunicle as I can right now because at the end of this section, we need more Faunicle. And the Faunicle, again, as I said, is like the most important one. And so if you don't have enough Faunicle here, it's pretty run dead. And so after this section, we're going to talk to Clara, and we're going to wait for a dialogue bubble to pop up right there between either me or Clara. And the reason that I want that to happen is so that I didn't get the cutscene skip. And so if you were able to, I accidentally didn't sell one last piece of Limodots to Clara in time, because if a dialogue box pops up during that section and you're able to sell the items and then quickly go to your mech before the dialogue goes away, you're able to exit to the map and select where you want to go before this cutscene begins. If this cutscene begins while you're in the hub, you aren't able to leave the hub, and that's really unfortunate. But the good thing about that is that if you have like the dialogue bubble pop up, the cutscene will get delayed until that dialogue has finished. And so if you're able to get it in time, it's pretty good. But unfortunately, we didn't. I'm going to collect this faunicle right here, just for good measures, we can have a little above 1,400 because that's pretty much what we want. All right, perfect. Okay, there we go. And after that, I'm going to go around the trigger zone for this encounter by flying around it like that. And thankfully, that worked. And we're gonna climb up this branch. And this level in particular is really funny because we actually found a way to just completely skip all of it. And so if you climb up this branch around to where the top of the branch is, and then you can just fly, just go straight and fly over the rest of the level. And I'm going to be trying to time my B presses correctly so I can keep getting boosts of speed like that every time that I dip down. Oh, I missed it. I was hoping I'd get a streak throughout the whole thing. And that's another thing. Sometimes the game has these messages that pop up. If you keep restarting the game, sometimes the messages will just keep popping up like that. Like if I had restarted the game like 3 times, it would have popped up 3 times right there because the game wants to show you the message every single time you pop up the game because you haven't seen it for the first time yet. And so those screen messages will just get loaded in over and over again. We're going to come up here and we only need to grab like 1 piece of the seeded blue fade in order to grab the blue wave core. And once we get the blue wave core, we're able to talk to Clara again because the blue wave core is what we wanted in order to fix her mech, which crashed right here. But that is all for this particular section of the run. And before we exit, we want to buy the blink design. The blink design is a particular design that we don't really use much in the speedrun, but it is required in order to move on, and so you have to save up for that. But unfortunately, this particular cutscene, we had a cutscene skip, but unfortunately this particular cutscene that comes after the cutscene skip, you can't skip it. I wish we could, but we can't. But we're about halfway through the run in terms of time, and we're gonna see hopefully how late game goes. We're gonna buy the blink design, and we're going to get some more. We're actually gonna go over here and buy another piece of rain wire, so then we can get the blink design. But I heard the host's voice there for a minute. Is there anything that you want to say?
I would, if you have a moment, I would like to discuss the charity again.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we here at DPX, we're currently raising money for To Write Love on Our Arms. They are a non-profit movement dedicated in presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. To Write Love on Our Arms exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and also invest directly into their treatment. They not only help people in need, but they also help other organizations. They help people all around the U.S. by hosting their own events and helping where they are needed. So all donations go directly to them through Tiltify, so we don't even touch the money at all.
Thanks. So thank you so much for that amazing plug there for the charity. It's a very important charity. It's a charity that I love a lot. And so I'm glad to be here raising money for them and helping out their cause as well. So this is the Wind Mantis, and the way that the Wind Mantis works is he does a lot of damage, but he also takes damage pretty easily with these. Okay, I'm gonna try and make my way over here so to avoid taking damage here, and I'm gonna wait until repair comes back so I repair all of this. And so this particular boss fight, you just have to blow these rocks into the Wind Mantis' face, and as you can see, it does a significant amount of damage. I'm going to go over here so as to avoid the Wind Mantis again while I wait for repair to come back. As you can see, he does a lot of damage, and that kind of shows pretty well. And thankfully, he got hit by one of the rocks, which allowed his health to go down, and we can just blow him off the edge and move on with our day. Unfortunately, that was not like the cleanest fight I've had. You can usually get him if you're really lucky, and with the rock RNG and the Mantis RNG, you can get like a really quick kill. But today is not that day. We're going to skip this cutscene, and now we've entered another beautiful area. In which we are going to go to sleep, and then we're going to wake up and we're going to talk to Davin, who is this green guy right here. So we're going to chat with Clara, and before the cutscene begins, we can grab a photosynthesizer and 4 aloe droplets, and then we have another cutscene here while Davin is trying to explain to us that he has like a friend that we need to go to, and this is like a B plot of the mission. And so I know the host just spoke, but if there's anything else the host wants to say, you can do it now. If not, I can come up with some stuff.
I could discuss some of the incentives that we have coming up. So the main one I want to focus on is the fact that the Pokemon Shining Pearl incentive, any donation you put in, the minimum's $1. Any donation you put in, you can put a name in for the raffle for the trainer's name for the Pokemon. So if you want to donate, just simply $1, you can enter a name, and a random name will be chosen right before the run. Otherwise, we do have a few bonus game incentives if you guys are interested in more speedrunning. So we have the DuckTales NES speedrun, which is right after the DuckTales remastered. That's the first bonus game, which ends tomorrow. The second bonus game is we have Super Quickie World 2 100%, which is a Super Mario World Kaizo hack. And the third bonus game we have is Angerfoot. So if you're interested in seeing any of those games, then feel free to drop a donation targeting one of those. We also have a few polls here. We have the famous Kill or Save the Animals for Super Metroid. We have Shovel Knight Shoot Fave. You can either vote yes or no on that. You can choose the clothing for Hello Kitty, either a swimsuit or a denim. And then Undertale, you can either choose to hug the goat or not. So that's all we have for incentives.
All right, thank you so much. Now you can probably see in that level, I used the ability that we got before going this level, the lift ability, which allows us to do that and lift up. We'll have a little boost upwards and lift up there. And so, if thankfully, with that lift ability, we're actually able to skip every encounter of this particular level and just go straight to the end and have to like pretty much avoid everything. And we are low a few hundred Dalium or Limedot. Let me check again exactly how much. So we have 3,200 Limedot, and we need around 800 more. And so we're gonna go backtrack into the second section, the Canopy Alpha, and we're gonna see if we can find some more Limedot. We want around 800. We have 300, 800. This is purely for backtracking purposes. Oh, come on. Okay, we're gonna check once more over here. See what the game wants to treat us with.
Come on. There we go. I didn't pause the timer, so.
All right. Would you like?
You're back.
All right. Would you like me to continue? I think we're good.
Yep.
All right. Beautiful.
You're good.
Great. So, sorry about the interruption. We went around. We need to backtrack a little bit more and get some more. Lima dot. We went around 400. We have 388. Okay. Perfect. That allows us to go back here and finish Attila's payment, in which we just sell more of that. Okay, now we need to talk to David over here, and we have another cutscene playing out in order to go to the next section, in which we have thankfully found a good amount of skips for the encounters of this section. And I like just moving around here as this cutscene's going on, because it's like she's like moving backwards or something, which is really cool. And so Attila's payments, we don't really need anything else here after that. The only thing that we want after that is a hardened crystal after this next section, or to get another upgrade. And that's pretty much all the upgrades we need for the rest of the game. So we're gonna come up here, and we're actually gonna go out of bounds. If you go out of here, you can see textures. Look at all these unfinished textures. You'd love to see it. And so right here, we're out of bounds. It doesn't look like your typical out of bounds in most games, in which you're out in the void and seeing level geometry, but it is in fact out of bounds. And so we're gonna go back inbounds and compete with the rest of the level, skipping a few encounters there. And then, perfect, come up here, and we're going to use the lift ability to get up to this rock. And then we're going to do the same thing, or to go around another encounter. This encounter is very finicky. You want to make sure that you really hold to the left over here in order to avoid it. And thankfully we were able to do that. And now we're just going to climb up the tree, hence the name of the level is Sardo Tree. Up. Thank you, game. Perfect. So you want to be able to really be careful with the way that you climb up this tree, because if you're not, you might be able to fall down. You might accidentally fall down and hit the rest of, and hit like the bottom of the tree and have to climb all the way back up. But thankfully we got the checkpoint, and so even if we did fall down, it wouldn't have mattered. And now we're going to ride the wind of this leaf forward, and we're going to use this branch, the very, very tip of this branch right here, use the lift ability and go around the trigger zone for this final encounter, and then go over to this final branch and activate this cutscene. And as this cutscene is playing out, we're actually going to go back to the encounter that we skipped. The reason being is because in this encounter you can find a little bit of Pyatite, which is a very rare mineral. You've probably seen me get it a few times. So it's pretty much that's pretty much the only reason why we go back to this encounter. But it doesn't matter what you do in the encounter. Since you started the cutscene, it'll just fade out. And so now we want to buy a hardened crystal, and that will allow us to get the spark design. And the spark design will is the thing that we need to exit to the next level. So we're gonna go to sleep, and we should wake up next in East Marsh. Rest. And so for the rest of the game, we're not really going to be getting any more minerals, other than a specific mineral that we're going to talk about later called Pyatite, which I just introduced to you there. We're going to get more Pyatite later, but first, before we get to Pyatite collecting, we're going to be going to the East Marsh. The East Marsh is essentially the third act of the game, and it's probably the shortest one in the speedrun. I'd say mid-game is probably where you lose the most of your time. But thankfully, we should be able to have pretty decent odds with the rest of this level. The only thing that we're really going to look out for in East Marsh is if there are alpha tracks, we're going to go out of our way to collect them. Pretty much because there's another alpha at the very end. And so we're going to grab the Rocky Pass fast travel location. We're going to come back to it later. Thankfully, there is an alpha track right here. So we're going to keep collecting. And we're going to see if we can collect one more before having to travel to the next zone. There unfortunately wasn't one right there. So we're going to go to the mire outskirts right now. Thankfully, we found a way to skip all the encounters right here in the mire outskirts. And so right here, we're going to go straight ahead. And we're going to see what the mire outskirts has to offer. And just very precise movement in mire outskirts. It's like one of the levels that's kind of easier to like fall off. And after getting to this tree trunk, you're gonna walk across here. If you can manage to find some pyetite here, you might want to collect it as well because you're gonna need a lot later. But honestly, if you can't find any like on your way, I wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to go grab them. That's not really the time for this. And so we're going to use the lift ability and travel around this encounter and then get onto this tree trunk and then just go straight into the end. And then we're going to activate this cutscene at the very end where we encounter another group of hunters or treasure hunters like we are. And then skip this cutscene, go back to our mech, and then after that we're going to go back to the Rocky Pass fast travel location that we went to later, and we're going to see if we can get some more alpha tracks here on the left side before moving on to what we need to do. Thankfully, that is the last alpha track that we need, and we're just going to go straight into the end. Okay. And we're going to go talk to an old hermit. The old hermit will tell us that there's an auction going on, and in the auction, we can find a specific mech, a mech that treasure hunters have been trying to find for ages, and anyone who has their hands on it will be considered like one of the best treasure hunters. Like, your reputation will skyrocket. And so we're going to be, of course, going to the auction because we ourselves are treasure hunters and we want that mech. And right here, while this cutscene is playing out, like most cutscenes, you do have free movement during it, and we're gonna see if we can. We're gonna see what we can do to grab pyetite in this section. Sometimes the game will give you pyetite if they're being really generous, and usually there is a faster strat here. You can die while this cutscene happens. And if you manage to die while this cutscene happens, the cutscene will end and you get sent back to camp. And so you can just skip it entirely. However, it's very rare that you can find enemies that like are that will do enough damage to kill you in a very short amount of time. And so I personally just take the time to try and find pyetite. And if I can't, then I'll just wait until the cutscene plays out. But it doesn't really look like we're getting much pyetite here. You want to really look around because this area is a lot bigger than one might think it is. Oh yeah, you see you have some Limedot, you have some Dalium, or even some Faunicle here, but at this point Faunicle is pretty useless. You don't really need it for anything else. And so it doesn't really look like the game wants to give us any more pyetite. There's small little crumbs here, but it doesn't seem like we have like full deposits or anything like that. And you can't grab alpha tracks during this cutscene either, which is the reason why we like got it late when we did. Okay, so now we're going to go to the Marsh Alpha, and the Marsh Alpha, we are only interested in the pyetite that it has. This particular alpha has like a lot of pyetite on it, and so we do not care about anything else. We just want pyetite. We want around 800 pyetite. And you're probably thinking, how are we able to collect all the pyetite before the encounter like finishes? Because like you collected so slowly. Like look at how slowly you're collecting the pyetite. We're only at like 100 right here. But thankfully there's a lot of deposits, and there's also a particular glitch or bug that we've discovered that I found that thankfully we're able to take advantage of here in case you don't collect all the pyetite that you need in one go. But for the most part, we're going to be using our bubble ability in order to grab the pyetite without having to be disturbed by the enemies. And you want, again, to just get as many as you possibly can. Deal with some damage from enemies if you'd like, but just be overall pretty careful about your movement here. Especially, you want to make sure that you're holding on to the mech after like using the bubble ability. Just press A so you're holding on to it instead of just walking on it, because if like wind comes by, you'll just be blown off. confused me. Okay, we're going to... we're doing the strat quicker than I anticipated. So if you were to quit to main menu and then restart the file, it'll put you back at like the nearest checkpoint right here. And this is the checkpoint that we have for the alpha. You can't just quit the alpha. You have to actually do it and complete it until either A, you die, or B, the timer runs out. And so the reason that that's important is because you can see on the left side all of the pyetites that I collected before restarting and quitting to main menu, you keep each time. And shout out to the developers, because when we were joined the Discord for the first time, and we were like, yeah, this thing exists, and they were like, oh yeah, we know, and they just never bothered to fix it. And so they're very supportive of the speedrunning endeavors that we have. And so right here, we're going to go and collect around 800 pyetite. We may have to restart again in the case that the game doesn't really want to like cooperate with us or be nice to us today. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem. We're just going to be grabbing this here. 500 is pretty respectable. Let's see if we can get 800 without having to restart again. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. It's really difficult because of just how much enemy stuff, how many enemies are in this particular section, and also how little or how slowly the pyetite mines. You know, just for safe measure, I'm going to restart again because we have another shot that we do afterwards anyway. Okay. So as you can see now, again, I restarted, and now I keep the pyetite that I have. And so this particular time, ideally you should only have to restart once and do the alpha twice. But in this case, we're restarting twice and doing the alpha 3 times because of just poor RNG and also poor execution are on both the game's part and my part. And so, oh my god, okay, yeah, this is why like the wind is kind of annoying sometimes because it blows you off and like immediately when you want to grab some mineral. And so let's see, hopefully we can get some more pyetite here. Okay, perfect. We're almost at 800. We should be able to get to it pretty cleanly, especially if there's more on like the farther ends of the wings and such. Let's see if we can find any more on the left side here. Right here, perfect. Oh, I collected it all in one fell swoop because of the bug that the game gives us. If you collect all the pyetite at once, if you get blown away while collecting minerals. And am I gonna have to restart this again? Because okay, no, okay, thank God. There's like a really huge amount of pyetite here. For a minute, I honestly thought that we collected all the pyetite that this alpha had. And so right here, we're gonna collect 800. Please, there we go. And then we're just gonna wait until either the game kills us or until the timer runs out, whichever one comes first. So we want to get damage here or whichever. Okay, there we go. There we go. Perfect. We're gonna skip this cutscene, wake up, and then we're going to go finish the game and enter the final area. Wake up, and then after going through all of that trouble to collect 800 pyetite, we're going to buy one more piece of rain wire in order to buy the decoy upgrade, and then we're going to go over here and sell all of the pyetite to Clara. We have to spam the end because it's 10 pieces of pyetite at a time. And now after that, you can just get like if you have extra like stuff here, you can just extra minerals to buy certain upgrades, just waste them all at the end, because we're not going to come back. This is like the end of the level, the end of the endgame, and this is the final level. And we're going to do this level and then the boss. And so it doesn't matter what minerals you have, doesn't matter what you waste, just buy as much as you can for safety, or as much as you want, or just have the little bit of time saved and don't buy anything. Doesn't matter. So here at the auction, we want to avoid an encounter by going hang over to the left over here. And we're going to get a lot of height by using bubble and then lift. And we're going to just climb around here and see what there is to see with this level. And you want to really avoid the rain as much as possible. The rain drops are coming down, and you see the little red dots where the rain's going to drop. But you really want to avoid them, because if you're in midair, it's going to spawn you back to the last solid ground you hit. And if that was like a really long time, it's like a lot of time loss. And so, right here, we're just going to jump up, ride the wind upwards. And the funny thing about this particular section is we spent so much time trying to get 800 Pyotite in order to use at the auction to buy the mech. However, the security will not let us in. So instead of using the Pyotite or something else, we just break into the auction and steal it, which made all the Pyotite that we were collecting kind of useless. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. Plot has to plot somehow, and so we are now at the auction, and surprise, the mech that was being sold is our father's mech that was stolen at the beginning of the game. Who could have seen that coming? And so we're gonna tether on to Krista here using the right bumper, and you want to really avoid the enemies as much as you can, because they're like the most annoying things in the world, especially these flying guys. These flying guys will literally follow you to the ends of the earth in order to get all these enemies, in order to get you see, and if you get hit by like a raindrop, you get untethered from Krissa, which is the most annoying thing ever. But actually, the good thing about this particular section is that it doesn't matter if you're tethered to Krissa or not, because there's a timer that starts for like 10 seconds if you get hit and untethered from Krissa. But it doesn't matter as long as you hit the end level trigger and hit the loading screen before that timer runs out. It doesn't matter if you're tethered to Krissa or not, the game will just end. So as long as you're able to get to the end end of the level, it doesn't matter if you get hit. But as long as you can reach there before the game forces you to start over. So now we're at the final boss. We're gonna take our father's mech and try to flee from our friends as we attempt to bring it back home to him. And use the abilities that we had in the beginning of the game with Blink. However, spoiler alert, we're going to go into the final boss, and the final boss is actually going to destroy the mech that we're currently in, which makes this entire journey for what? For nothing. Except the journey was the friends we made along the way, as everyone knows. That's what really matters. And so, after this section, we're going to fight the Dragon Mantis using our mech. The Dragon Mantis, much like the Wind Mantis, does a lot of damage at once, but also takes damage pretty easily. It takes a little bit less damage than the Wind Mantis, though. So all you have to do is pretty much do the same thing as the Wind Mantis, except it's harder because he has a specific, a more varied set of attacks, and does a lot more damage than usual than like the Wind Mantis would. You really want to stay out of range of like his stomps right there, because that's when more rocks will come down, and also the stomp itself just does a lot of damage, and so trying to avoid that is key. And not only that, but we also have to deal with a lot of other enemies, more enemies than that of the Wind Mantis here. As long as you're not on the floor when he does the smash, then you should be fine. And this is good phase. This is just phase 1. There's also phase 2. Unlike the Wind Mantis, we only had one phase. But thankfully, we have found a skip for phase 2. However, it's pseudo RNG. Okay. And we're just gonna wait until. Oh, come on! He's being. We're gonna try to avoid him as much as possible here, only because we're pretty low on health. I feel like if he hits me like one more time, I might hit him. Oh, there we go. Try to repair. We still got a good amount of repair there. Thankfully. Come on. Hopefully we don't die during this section. You want him to go around to like 2/3 health down, because that's when phase 2 will begin. But come on. Come on. Okay. Yeah. So you really want to be careful. More careful than I'm being right now, usually. Oh my god, why does it respawn me right there? That's amazing. We want to actually... I'm going to avoid the Wind Mantis as much as I can right now. Or the Dragon Mantis as much as I can right now, only because I would like to get some more... I would like my repair to come back so that we don't die. I have to restart this phase. Oh my god, we died. Okay. Unfortunately, we have to restart this phase again. But, again, hopefully we have it bring it a bit faster this time. Okay, there we go. Starting off strong. But that's the worst thing, also, when the rocks fall on you. Okay, yep, and also when the rocks fall on him, that's the best thing. And boom, okay, perfect. Great. Let's see how this works. There's a lot of... We're going to try and make use of all of these rocks right here. Hopefully he can land and we can attack all of them at once with all these rocks over here. And I do like it when he stomps, because that means more rocks falls down. And other enemies can attack him too, which is great. Come on. There we go. I'm going to try and take this rock. And if he comes over here, that is. Attack him with that rock. Come on. Come on. Okay. Unfortunately, we got hit by one of the poison of one of the moon bugs there, which is unfortunate. But we're really close to where we want the health to be for the Dragon Mantis in order. There we go. Start phase 2. So phase 2 has a skip, and we're going to see if the Dragon Mantis feels like cooperating with us today so we can perform the skip. We're going to try and... We use the bubble ability to make the Mantis fly just sitting down. And then the bubble ability will allow us to... when he flies, we want to like lead him over here in this direction. And hope that he tries to do his landing animation while he's on like... while he's near this corner right here. If the Mantis... Oh, that's what we want. And it happened. Okay, so time is going to come up in around 3, 2, 1, time. So, the way that last trick worked is that if you are to lure the Dragon Mantis to the end of his section right there, to like the edge of that platform, he will fall off and hit the kill plane underneath the level, and you can just skip phase 2 entirely. It's pseudo RNG because theoretically, if you do the same thing each time, you should have the same outcome. But the behavior of the Dragon Mantis himself is like really finicky and inconsistent, and so sometimes he just doesn't want to cooperate. And that is it for Stonefly. This is around, I believe, $30 on Steam. I know I said 20 at the beginning, but I think it's actually 30. But go check the price yourself. And I highly recommend playing this game, even if it's just casually. There's a lot more that this game has to offer, and there's other modes as well. And so I highly recommend checking it out. So that's all from me.
Alrighty, so we have Hard Corpse Uprising coming up next. We will see you guys then. Yeah.